Hello, and welcome to Dr. Shiny Tarot. This is a reading for Sagittarius for the month of December. So thank you for joining, and we're going to go ahead and get to your reading. Okay, so some familiar cards coming up here. Okay, interesting. All right, so for Sagittarius, for your current situation, we have the Five of Pentacles. So this means that you're kind of going through something that maybe feels a little bit worse than it is because you're not utilizing help from those around you. It's being offered. It's not that there is no help for you. It's just that you're kind of like not maybe looking for it or not willing to accept it or just feeling a little despondent. In the original artwork, there's a guy that's kind of like a poor fella or a beggar who's walking outside of a cathedral, and the light is on inside the cathedral and it's warm and there are people in there that are willing to help, but he's just kind of like walking on and not seeing the help that's available. In this artwork, there's a key to the door that's locked right there, and she's just not seeing it. She's it's kind of being too caught in your feelings a little bit to recognize the sort of material, mechanical opportunities that are around you, the solutions. It's kind of like seeing problems instead of solutions, right? So something that you're going through is not really quite as difficult to find a solution to as you might think it is. It's just that you kind of maybe have to check your ego a little bit, ask others for help, or just in general, seek some outside influence to aid you. So what we have for your what's crossing you in this situation, you have the Chariot in the reverse. So the Chariot represents kind of like the Chariot represents an accomplishment, but in the reverse, this is sort of like a resistance or a lack of accomplishment. This is being a little bit new or imbalanced in some particular field or aspect of development that you're trying to get acquainted with. And so this is again sort of enforcing that maybe you don't have the accomplishments, or you're not ready to set out and tackle some particular project, and you're in need of kind of flipping this card upside down so that you have this control and this energy and this ability to get where you want to go. So it may be that the future of this project is not involving somebody else, and it really is you doing it yourself. You may envision it that way, and it may end up being that way, but it's still kind of you have to seek out the experiences that you need to become that person, right? To become the person who's capable of doing it on your own. You're still going to have to require some help to get to that point initially, at least, right? So what you're moving away from is this Death card. And this isn't necessarily a literal death. A lot of people get afraid of this, but it's really more of this rebirth into a new idea. Now you're moving away from it. A lot of times this kind of is what happened in the past, but it's not always just like past future dynamic. And I think in this way it's kind of more the energy that you're trying to move away from, this like new you. It's sort of you're clinging to an idea of yourself or an idea of the way the situation is supposed to go, rather than sort of like moving on from it. So you are moving away from that sort of death energy, and you're moving toward this Fool in the reverse, which is sort of wanting to have things figured out on an intellectual level instead of being like trusting, and instead of having just sort of faith that it's going to work out and playing it by ear. You're wanting to have it under control, or have it all planned out or known ahead of time. And so that's kind of a direction that your mindset is taking you. It's that you're wanting to go away from this, like allowing a new type of energy or something new to you to be reborn inside you, and you're kind of really wanting to go more for the known. You're straying away from the unknown, or this new way of life, and you're really wanting to go for the beaten path a little bit more. So, and there may be a lot of good reasons for that, but it kind of suggests to me that you're making the situation a little bit harder than it has to be by injecting that energy into it, and that if you kind of loosened up a little bit and find a way to see the situation as a little bit lower stakes, right? So like, I like to make music, and a lot of times I don't want people to see what I have, because for some reason I guess I'm afraid that failure will reflect badly on me or something. But when it comes down to it, it's like nobody really cares about the music that is not good that you make. They care about the stuff that is good. So you have to just keep trying, right? You have to keep pushing forward, pushing what you're trying to sell, and then eventually when you get it right, your success will speak for itself in a way. So don't worry so much about a failure reflecting badly on yourself. Be okay with failure, but also be open to coming to somebody and saying, like, I need help, or I need to be able to get some guidance, and maybe you just need somebody to point you in the right direction, and it's pretty much over at that point. It's like it's all good as soon as you open the door to some alternate ways of thinking about the situation. So foundation is the Ace of Cups, and again, this is a sort of, as the foundation, this is like, what is the lesson, or what is the fundamental part of you that is causing this lesson to sort of emerge or manifest? What are you trying to be taught, right? So in the reverse Ace of Cups here, we have like a resistance to feeling a particular type of way, something that's foreign to you, something that's new. So it can be like, a humility about some part of your work or something, or you may have a reputation and you may really like it to be a certain way, and it may be that kind of going about this situation in this alternate way challenges that reputation, or that way of being, the way people look at you, and it makes you feel some other kind of way that you're not really open to, that you're not feeling like it would be pleasant. But sometimes things are better than we thought they would be ahead of time. You kind of don't know until you experience it. There's always the aspects of it that you see, that you focus on, and then there's the things that you didn't really take into consideration that can actually end up being quite pleasant, right? So, or the other way around. A lot of times we think about the pleasant aspects of things, but we don't really think of the negative aspects that come with it, right? So everything has this sort of give and take, this pros and cons, that type of dynamic. So your crowning thoughts is the Ten of Pentacles. So it could be that what's on your mind is not having this like really great physical abundance and all that you're kind of like, you're seeking after a little bit more. You're seeking to have some greater security. You're feeling like you need to put effort into making sure that you provide for those that you care about, and you are kind of trying to invest in that type of way. That kind of an energy as a driving force, and as something in your conscious mind, has a way of making you a little bit more defensive than you have to be. So it could be that you are very concerned about maintaining this sort of not facade, that makes it sound fake, but this particular image of projecting strength, or projecting like you have it all figured out, and that can be strategically good depending on where you are and the people, but there's also times where you need to be able to have some friends that you can trust to be vulnerable around. You don't want to get too isolated. No man should be an island unto himself, right? So you don't want to feel as though the only one looking out for you is you. You have to find friends and people who you share some sort of mutual trust and feelings of well-being. And that works magic also in the sort of spiritual realm. Instead of it just being fully your willpower and self-reliance, you're involving other wills. You're placing some of the responsibility for, I don't know if you believe in the sort of law of attraction that you call experiences to yourself and whatnot, but it always helps to have somebody else out there who wants the best for you. And your family normally fills that role to a degree, some people more than others, but you want to cultivate these relationships where you have people who have your well-being and your interests in mind. And if you don't have those things, it's probably time for you to start trying to cultivate those things, or seeking out that type of a relationship. And a lot of times the way that you do that is really by being that person for others, by just wanting the best for others, and demonstrating that you have an interest in their life being better, right? So advice for the current situation: you have this Ten of Wands in the reverse. Now, Ten of Wands in the reverse normally is a feeling of like almost being over encumbered, or having a little too much on your plate, not being able to do everything. And so, with each of the different suits, the 10 represents a sort of like maturation of the understanding of those energies. And you also have the queens and kings and whatnot, but there's a journey of understanding what the particular element is about. And with wands, once you get to the end, once you get to the number 10, it's not quite such a great picture. It's more of a, no matter what you do, the wands represent action and will. And so no matter what you do, no matter how much you master will, there's always more that could be done, right? So the lesson of 10, or the 10 of wands, is essentially that you have to pick and choose your battles to be able to effectively use your willpower. So it's like, that's kind of the ultimate lesson of action, is that a lot of people would have a whole lot more power if they didn't spend so much time trying to accomplish things that were not efficient, or that weren't serving them, or we get stuck in these habits of needing to be entertained all the time, these kind of things, which lead us to do things that are not in our own best interests. And now, on the one hand, you have to do some things like that, right? You have to, because otherwise you'll just drive yourself insane, and life really won't be worth living without anything but work. But on the other hand, so the lesson of this is, it doesn't matter how much you master action, you will never be able to do everything. So the relaxed and happy life is sort of about finding that balance between, like, what things can I let go of? Does the house have to be completely spotless, or can I just have it pretty well organized, and spend some more time with the family, or doing some other things? So choices have to be made. And this is in the reverse. It could be the energy that you bring into this. So it could be that you're trying to do it all yourself. And so that lesson of that 10 of Wands is asking you to remember that, like, you can't do everything, and certainly you can't do everything by yourself without some additional help. So don't be afraid. It's not a negative reflection on your character. It's like the past couple thousand years of human history scream from the rooftops that you cannot go it alone. You can't do it by yourself. And everybody has tried to for like the last couple thousand years. Everybody wants to fix everything themselves. They want to be the one who does it. And consistently, history proves that you can't do it, that you have to rely on other people, that life has to be a collaborative effort. And the more receptive you are to that way of looking at things, the easier things will be for you, because it's a hard thing to learn. And every one of us, the ego, it kind of makes us feel like if we let go of control or power or responsibility, that reflects negatively on us. But a lot of that is just kind of how we've been conditioned in this society. but there's nothing just intrinsically good about being busy, right? It's far much, instead of working harder, work smarter. It's far better for you to do the things efficiently that need to be done, and then to figure out what needs to be left behind. And so your current environment, you have the star. So it's a lot of people around you may feel kind of nervous or untrusting about what's going to happen, what's going on. There's a lot of uncomfortability with the unknown. And so that is leading you, I think that's influencing you, that's sort of like, I don't want to say peer pressure, but you take on the energies of those around you. So it seems like that energy has definitely affected you and influenced you to also, instead of just sort of trusting that everything's going to be okay, there is a feeling of like needing to know, needing to control and everything. So, and you kind of have to be careful who you spend your time around, because it doesn't matter. I mean, I saw this in a really, really startling way the other day, that it doesn't matter. You can be aware of it all you want. You can try not to, but if you hang around people, you will inevitably start taking on their characteristics and qualities and mimicking their behaviors. It's sort of, especially if you're an empathetic person, because part of that empathy is you want to make a person feel validated, and so you will begin to act the way that they act to you, just as a way of saying, like, I feel you, you're a real person, and I respect you. So if you have that natural empathy, you will start to absorb these qualities of people around you, and you won't even realize it. You won't even see that you've absorbed these qualities until at some point something draws your attention to it, and you're like, whoa, why have I been acting like this? And it happened to me the other day in quite a violent type, not a violent, like I was violent, but it was a really rude awakening. It was like all of a sudden, wow, I was like, I cannot believe that I found myself, thinking that this kind of thing or acting this sort of way. But anyway, so that kind of thing can happen. So you want to be careful about who you spend your time around. So your fears card, you have the High Priestess. Now that's pretty interesting. The High Priestess is like very, very about the intuition, about like not necessarily conscious knowledge, but mystery. Mystery is her best friend in a way, because in that sort of ambiguity or subtlety, that's where she finds the ability to know without this conscious knowledge, but to instead relying on the intellect, to rely on the intuition, right, and to be a little bit more go with the flow. Now, in the fears position, it can be that you're really more searching for a sort of conscious knowledge here. You're searching for an intellectual answer, something that is known and well planned out, well thought out, and so you're not looking to kind of follow this intuition, or you may be afraid that your intuition could serve you wrong, that there's a little bit too much of a risk going on here for you to just say, well, I have a good feeling about it. So the overall message, what you're headed to in the long run here, the moon, the moon is kind of what the energy that feeds the High Priestess. So you're going this direction where it to a great degree represents like the unknown and the subconscious sort of welling up. There's often a light dog and a dark dog or wolf in the artwork for this card, and it represents that coming out of that subconscious are both aspects of the duality, not just the one that you consciously select as being good or bad. Both aspects do come out of this. But that also makes it quite a bit more accurate and quite a bit more powerful if you learn how to navigate and understand it. So it seems as though like the overall message here is that it's like a little bit time for you to make a little bit more friends with the unknown, and you don't have to just completely dive in, although I would suggest it personally, highly recommend just diving in and letting go. One of the most transformative experiences in my life was I sort of, you pass these little retention ponds and these nasty little swampy areas periodically, and you look at them, and I don't know about you, but I used to get this feeling like of heebie-jeebies when I looked at it. I was like, wow, that's a nasty little place. It just looks so dark and dreary, and like I bet you something in there would get you. And then one day, I don't know, I was probably on drugs or something, but I was feeling particularly ballsy, and I decided to no longer live with that feeling, that I was done with that. I was just going to go dive into one of those little pools and see what happened. And, I did, and it was kind of funny. It was like nothing bad happened, like I kind of expected would. It was all okay. I got wet. A leech was on me when I came out, which was pretty nasty, but I was able to get it off. And what I did, though, is when I got into that water, I just dunked completely down underneath. And then when I came back up, this is where the ideas of baptism and that thing kind of come from. When I came back up, I was a completely new person because I had sort of let go of all of those inhibitive, fearful forces that tell me, like, you can't do that, you got to go away from that. And then all of a sudden, I found this, like, new confidence, and it carried forth for a very long time, where I had this new confidence in everything that I did, and it was infectious. And it was almost as if from that moment on, people just, like, looked at me a little bit differently because I had this new confidence that I had found. Now, I'm not recommending that you go jump into a bunch of dirty lakes, but you do need to find or search for, do some meditation and search for what are some of the things in life that are really not such a big deal, that you can survive through a little bit of uncomfortable time and come out the other side stronger. One of the ways that I recommend people approach this particular type of lesson is, if you don't already do so, cold showers, right? So a cold shower is really, really good for your body. It's not harmful to you at all. It's very good for you. It helps increase your blood flow, and it's good for your skin, it's good for your hair, it's good for all of that, and it reduces inflammation. All of that stuff is just wonderful, but it's very, very uncomfortable if you're not used to it. If you're used to your hot showers and everything, well, I love my hot showers, so I won't just get in for cold the whole time, but after taking my hot shower, I reserve at least like the last 2 minutes to turn it all the way cold, to be fully cold, and do it slowly, because if you go from really hot to really cold, that actually can hurt you. So do it slowly, but get it all the way to cold, and just force yourself to stay there in that water. And instead of like tensing up really hard and like hyperventilating, you have to continuously relax and remind yourself to relax and to allow that cold stinging to just come. And eventually a really curious thing happens, and it doesn't hurt anymore, and it actually starts to feel good. And it's strange, and when you experience it for the first time, you feel like a superhero. And that's an example of, like I said, taking head on something that scares you or is challenging to you, and transforming it into power, or an ascension above your limitations, right? So, really cool message. I love when that kind of thing comes up. That's really fun. If you have any questions or anything, please leave them in the comments and let me know how you liked it. And please subscribe and like. And I have lots more videos on my channel. I'm all the time posting new tarot videos. And occasionally I do free personal readings too. So just stay tuned, and I'll see you guys next time. But this has been Dr. Shiny for Sagittarius.